A nuclear waste repository is becoming a stronger possibility in northwestern Ontario. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Ignace has made a decision. They are willing to host a nuclear waste site. Council made it official at a special meeting this afternoon following an overwhelming yes vote from residents. A survey showed that 495 of the 640 residents that took part in a vote during the study want to stay in the running as a potential host site. The Nuclear Waste Management Organization still has to decide between Ignace and South Bruce in Southern Ontario as a host site. TBT's Justin Hardy was at the historic meeting and will have the full story on tomorrow's NewsHour. It's now day 6 of the province-wide LCBO strike. Despite some long days and hot temperatures, local LCBO workers continue to stay motivated and feel like they've received community support. Just under a week since the strike started, the picket lines in Thunder Bay are still standing strong. LCBO employees on Arthur Street started their line at 5 o'clock this morning and say they aren't going anywhere until they see the changes they demand. From dropping off food and coffee to honking while driving by, along with monetary donations. Picket Captain Megan Owen said the support from the community throughout this process has been overwhelmingly positive.
It's left most of us speechless. We've had conversations with people who've come up to us. We've had TB education, healthcare, CUPE, retired union workers walking the line with us. There's one young gentleman who hit the line with us day one on his lunch break, and he's been back every day since, sometimes twice a day at both lines. And it's been so inspiring. It's keeping us going. Everyone's been keeping us really energized. We've had some really hot days and really hot temperatures, and people have not let us feel that.
Doug Ford spoke at a news conference earlier today for the first time since that strike began. Some statements have increased fear among striking LCBO workers of major job losses with expanded alcohol sales. CTV's Rahim Ladani was at that conference and brings us more details.
The beer is still flowing at this craft brewery in Etobicoke as Premier Doug Ford echoes that despite the LCBO strike, it is not a dry summer in Ontario.
Our plan to give people more choice and convenience when it comes to buying alcohol in Ontario does exactly that.
However, it's comments like that, along with this video he posted earlier this week.
We've created this handy new map that shows what stores are open and what they sell.
That it's furthering fear among those on the picket line that opening up alcohol sales to convenience and grocery stores will lead to major job losses.
It feels like Mr. Ford is trying to emphasize that we are not necessary to the people of Ontario.
There's a pot store in every corner. Every third store, all you see is pot. All I'm going to see now is alcohol everywhere as well. That is the Ontario I grew up with, and that's not the Ontario I want to be living in.
However, the Premier disagrees, saying it's up to the LCBO to compete for business.
It's like any other business. You compete. When you walk in the LCBO store, you're treated well, like I know they are, people will come back, repeat customers.
5 distribution centers were supposed to open Wednesday to stock up restaurants and bars, but that plan has been scrapped. The LCBO saying, in light of OPSEU threats to picket these locations, we have made the decision to offer an alternative online experience for smaller orders. Details will be shared directly with our licensees.
Bargaining in good faith, not letting your rich friends, wealthy insiders continue to benefit from this government.
I'd like to see language that would allow for the modernization of the LCBO. We've talked many times about the alternative models in Nova Scotia, in Manitoba, in Quebec, and that there's not a single one that would necessarily be made for Ontario.
The LCBO says its last offer to the union included wage increases and converting hundreds of part-time jobs to full-time positions.
And that was CTV's Rahim Ladani reporting. The Catholic School Board has its new Director of Education. Jean-Paul Tenier will officially take on the role on Monday. Tenier has over 26 years of experience in leadership roles with the board, most recently as Superintendent of Education, a role that he served in for the past 10 years. In a release to the media, Tenier vows to continuing honoring the board's commitment to faith-based, high-quality education that prepares students for the future. He's actually following in his father's footsteps, who served in the role from 1992 to 1995. Tenier succeeds Pino Tassoni, who's retiring after a decade in the board's top job. The Downtown Fort William Revitalization Committee Chair is disappointed the Victoriaville Revitalization Project has been delayed. Despite this, the committee remains hopeful the completed work will be a catalyst for the South Side. The demolition in Victoriaville was supposed to start this summer, but now it won't begin until early 2025. It delays the construction of Victoria Avenue and the completion of the work for at least a year. Downtown Fort William Revitalization Committee Chair Stephen Marguerite recognizes the challenges that come from the delay, but remains optimistic.
Obviously, you know, we feel, as the committee feels, for all the different businesses that are going to be affected by it. I think everybody just wants this project to move forward and get it done as soon as possible. But, you know, again, with this project reopening Victoria Avenue to traffic, it's really going to be the catalyst for renewing the downtown Fort William. I think that, coupled with maybe some projects funded through the Housing Accelerator Fund, that's two pillars of the downtown Fort William renewal project.
The tender for the demolition is now expected to go out in October. A local group is working to qualify the healthcare challenges faced by First Nations people in the region. Mamo Ayamoan is a health data alliance of 77 First Nations across Northern Ontario. Their first report, released in 2020, showed that people are dying much younger in the communities they studied than the province at large. 61% died before the age of 65, compared to the provincial average of 22%. It was also found that the rate of premature deaths has doubled since 1992. They're meeting with community members and service providers this week in Thunder Bay to talk about the preliminary data for their current study on chronic conditions.
Some of the questions that we're asking folks who are here today looking at the data are things like, does this data make sense to you? What might be causing the increase in the condition that we're looking at here? Does your community have good access to services that would be needed to manage this condition, and stuff like that?
If all goes well, the report could be presented to participating First Nations by the end of the year and to the public sometime after that. They're also conducting an analysis on mental health and addictions. And there's an analysis on injuries coming up after that. All three reports were prompted by questions raised in the original mortality study. The city's Clean, Green and Beautiful Committee wants to take the work out of organizing a community cleanup event. They launched their new community cleanup trailer program today with an event down along the floodway. Lee Noonan was there.
The city's new community cleanup trailer is exactly what it sounds like, a trailer packed with everything you might need to host a community cleanup event.
It's really a great way to get that civic pride in our community, to get people to come together you know, with their neighbors and friends and community organizations, and really make our city clean, green, and beautiful.
City workers deliver the trailer to the cleanup location and tow it and all the garbage collected to the landfill when the event is over. It's all completely free of charge. Waste Diversion Coordinator Lee Amelia says the goal is to make it as easy as possible to host a cleanup event.
We really make it easy. We provide all the tools that are necessary to host a cleanup event, and just trying to give people that extra resource to be able to clean up our city, keep the city cleaner, keep our rivers cleaner, Lake Superior cleaner.
The Clean, Green and Beautiful Committee invited the Lakehead Region Conservation Authority out for the trailer's very first cleanup.
Having the whole team together obviously makes things go a little bit quicker and helps with the camaraderie and the community building. And the intent, you know, as the Conservation Authority, we thought we would be a good inaugural user group to launch the trailer to help the city and to showcase that other groups in town are going to be able to utilize this excellent amenity to lead their own cleanups around town.
Anyone can book the trailer, whether that's a local organization, a business looking for a team building exercise, or just a bunch of neighbors who want to clean up the neighborhood.
I think people will start seeing this across the city, and hopefully it inspires some community groups to come together and take it out and make a big impact.
The trailer can be booked by emailing cleanuptrailer@thunderbay.ca. Details are available on the city's website. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The outdoor stage at Ignace Theatre is officially back for its latest summer production. William Shakespeare's classic Romeo and Juliet hits the stage for a preview tomorrow and will run throughout July. Nev Van Pelt has more.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
Ignace Theatre has been putting on shows at their outdoor stage for 4 years now. And artistic director Tom Curry says many patrons have requested some good classic theatre. That's what inspired them to pick the timeless love story of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
There is something about that raw emotion of two teenagers falling for each other and willing to risk everything, even though their families don't want them to be together.
This classic play will feature 8 actors, starring Thunder Bay's own Jasmine Medeo and Hudson Morash as the star-crossed lovers.
It is a timeless love story. It's got fun elements, it's got comedy, it's got tragedy, it's got all the drama in it, and people have been doing this show for hundreds and hundreds of years, and I like our take on it.
The thing that people continue to love for hundreds of years is really like the love story. Something really charming about the innocence and the joy of like this young love. Nothing can get in the way of it. They're totally, these young people just feel totally unstoppable. And I think everyone wants a love like that.
This production will bring a fresh interpretation to the classic play published back in the 1500s, infusing it with contemporary elements while also staying true to Shakespeare's rich language. The outdoor theatre will also have a new setup again this year.
We're presenting in alleyway stage, a traverse stage, so the audience is split in two. The audience is one half of the audience is on one end of the tent, the other half is on the other side, kind of representing the Capulets and the Montagues, and the bulk of the action happens in the middle of the tent.
The actors are excited about performing this play on the alleyway stage.
We do a lot of speaking our thoughts out loud as Romeo and Juliet, and we can talk to the audience. So working with this kind of stage is really exciting because we have lots of people that we can talk to and work with.
The challenge is to make sure we're performing in a way that, that reads well on both sides. We're not just playing one direction, and it adds a lot of dynamicism to the scenes and kind of a lot more fun.
The play will be running until July 27th, and performances are Tuesdays through Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. on the outdoor stage, with manatees at noon on Wednesdays and 2 p.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. That includes a Pay What You Want performance on July 14th. Nev Van Pelt, TBT News.
A Northwestern Ontario singer is moving on to the next round of America's Got Talent. Atikokan's Alex Samson wowed the judges last night with his performance of his original song, Pretty Baby.
Pretty baby, someday maybe we'll look up at the stars.
All 4 judges praised Samson's performance. The 20-year-old's voice was compared to musicians from the 50s and 60s, including Herman's Hermits. Samson now moves on to the live performance rounds, beginning on August 13th. Well, congratulations to Samson there, because that was very beautiful, I must say. And Fiona, I'm turning to weather. Today was a pretty beautiful day, too. It wasn't as uncomfortable as the past days have been.
I actually had people stopping me, telling me, despite all of the clouds that we saw today, what a nice day it was. And I wasn't entirely sure what the next sentence was going to be. But we did warm up to a high of 23, but the Humidex only hit 27 compared to yesterday when it was in the 30s. I'd say it was definitely a little bit more comfortable. So I too did not mind. It's a little bit of extra cloud. Winds were fairly light most of the day from the northeast. They did bump up to about 27 kilometers an hour for about an hour or so midway through the day, but most of the day it was fairly light, and temperatures started out the day with a low of 14. So hopefully you got to enjoy the comfort of the overnight hours. Now, if we take a look at what was moving through, we did have some instability to the south, and that helped push some of the clouds into the region. But at this hour, you can see just a few small areas where there is a possibility of a little bit of precipitation close to the shores of Lake Superior for the next few hours. But elsewhere, we've had a lot of clearing. Now, Fort Frances currently clear at 27 and a humidex of 31. A little bit further north, they started out with more cloud, partly cloudy in Red Lake, and cleared in the last couple of hours. In Greenstone, they stayed more cloudy for most of the day, but in the last 2 hours, it suddenly cleared out completely. Ironically, though, the temperatures were doing something interesting. Temperatures were dropping in Armstrong and Greenstone until about noon today, and that was a low of 13. And then this afternoon, they warmed back up into the 20s. They're currently at their highs for the day at 21 and 22 respectively. To the west, though, these temperatures are quite a bit warmer, and the humidex is making it feel a lot warmer. On the eastern and northern shores of Lake Superior, temperatures in the low 20s from Nipigon all the way through to Sault Ste. Marie, where they have had mostly cloudy skies for much of the day, although the Sault did see humidex levels hit 30 a couple of hours ago. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, we are going to drop down to a low of 12. Now, remember I showed you on that map those few little dots. Those are areas where there's a risk of showers. Even a possible thunderstorm could pop up in the next couple of hours, and then it's expected to be clear overnight, and that's where we're going to get those overnight lows of 12, which are nice and cool. Personally, I like the cool nights. Me too. They make sleeping much more comfortable. Oh, don't like, I don't have air conditioning. I don't know about
same.
you.
I don't either.
So I like the cooler nights. I'm enjoying these while they last, and you need to as well, because the next couple of days are going to get steamy.
Oh, geez, I know this when you crack the window open a little bit and you just feel that cool breeze come in.
Oh, that's nice.
That's perfect. Yes, thank you so much, Fiona. Well, when we come back, we'll be turning our attention to international news, where NATO allies have reached an agreement on to continue supporting Ukraine on its path to NATO membership. We'll have more on that as your Wednesday News Hour continues.
Support to Ukraine is not charity, it is in our own security interest.